We are a nation of people that no longer speak to each other. We are a nation of people who have stopped being friends with people because of who they voted for in the last election. We are a nation of people who have isolated ourselves to only watch channels that tell us that we're right. We're a nation of people that have isolated ourselves politically and to a point where discussions like this have become very difficult.
Here to discuss that with me is Glenn Beck, the founder of The Blaze. Glenn, good to see you this morning. I thought Senator Rubio made that point very eloquently, but it's a point that you and many others have been making for years. So how do we move from just diagnosing the problem to actually solving it?
Best way to do it is to read Martin Luther King. He talked about reconciliation and not winning, and both sides are just trying to win. I tried to win for a long time. I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. We need to start looking to reconciliation. Winners creates losers, and with everybody trying to just win and be right, we stop listening to each other, and we come to this place where we think the other side doesn't have anything to teach me, so I'm not even going to listen to them.
Yeah, there's this sense that on the left that the right's acting in bad faith, and a sense on the right that the left is acting in bad faith. So there's no willingness to meet somewhere in the middle.
Right, and parts of that are true. Parts of it aren't. We just see the world differently. But you know, I'm a student of history, and you can look to the 1960s for answers, and you can look to the 1920s and 30s for the problems. And we are currently deeply, probably 1926, 1928, Weimar Republic. At that time, the two newspapers in Germany, one was saying the National Socialist point, the other was saying the Communist point, and you could look at the papers on the same day for the same event, and you'd get two different, radically different views to where it didn't even look like it was the same event. And no one who read this one read that one. And so you were either right or wrong. That's a real problem, because that's where we are.
So is this a marketplace problem for media companies? I mean, is there a market for the middle?
I think there is a market for the middle, but we have to stop looking for the market. We have to start looking to heal. We have to start looking at ourselves and saying, what role have I played? You know, it will take a long time, because there are people that are watching you right now that hate my guts and think that I'm the man that they thought I was in 2008. As you know, I have been preaching something very different for a very long time. It takes people on both sides. Who in the media has really stepped to the plate and said, you know what, we made bad mistakes? I will tell you, the New York Times did once right after the election, and it was good, but they didn't keep ringing that bell. They didn't keep pointing out, okay, we were this, we're doing this. And only one time made the right do what the left has done to me, and that's like, yeah, right, okay, so you admit this one. See, that's just the problem. You have to back it up with action.
Well, a lot of people remember your famous blackboard from your Fox News days. You were frequently accused of spreading conspiracy theories about Obama and about liberals, which is why I want to know what you make of the conspiracy theories this week, these attacks against the students in Florida. Why do people embrace this kind of conspiracy theory thinking?
Okay, so let's talk about conspiracy theories, because again, this is a left and right kind of thing. If you remember, Scripps Howard did a poll in 2006, and they asked the question, how likely is it that people in the federal government either assisted in the 9/11 attacks or took no action because they wanted war in the Middle East? 22% said very likely, 22% of Democrats said very likely, 28% said somewhat likely. So that's more than half of Democrats thought that Bush was involved in the 9/11 conspiracy. So conspiracy, and by the way, the person who was behind that conspiracy is the same guy behind a lot of these conspiracies, Alex Jones. Politico described that as something at the time. They said, well, that's just things that people are saying because they don't like the other guy. That's the problem. We're willing to accept things about the other guy because we don't like him.
Well,
And
as
then
bad as the line
there's
was
no...
after 9/11, what's worse now are the social networks, that they spread these crazy theories to millions of people. What should the technology companies do?
I don't know. The Facebook and Twitter have added to this problem a great deal. I think if you look at where the average Democrat was and the average Republican, if you look at the charts, it's pretty much like this until 2006, the first year of Facebook, and we started moving apart, and we are now here. We are vastly two different countries. We can't read only the things that we agree with. We have to have conversations, calm conversations that make us uncomfortable. We have to have that.
You've talked on your programs in the past about the...
Be honest with you? Can I be honest? Let me be honest with you on one thing too, and this is something that you're not going to want to hear. CNN had a right and a responsibility to have that conversation, that town hall. But when you added a room full, when you added, 2,000, 5,000 people that were grieving and angry, you did nothing. You made things worse. If you wanted to have that conversation, then let's have that conversation in a calm way. But adding the crowd, it became the Christians and the Lions. It was despicable and grotesque.
But you would have told the students to shush? You would have told them to shut up?
No, I would have said, this is too raw right now to have a stadium full of people. You pick the people, you have the kids that want to talk, and let's have that conversation in a small room without the cheering crowds. It's why I won't go on Bill Maher. Bill Maher has asked me for years to go on his program. I won't because it is just the cheering crowd. Somebody's trying to win. Martin Luther King would not have done that. Martin Luther King would have had the discussion without the cheering crowds. Don't try to win. Look for reconciliation.
Glenn, I respect your point of view, and I appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you.
And that's what our show's for a critical look at the media. I did want to share this, though, from Town Hall moderator Jake Tapper. He had a Twitter dialogue with another critic of the Town Hall format, and he said it was really the community there in Parkland that asked us to facilitate a Town Hall where they could ask questions of lawmakers. You obviously feel we shouldn't have. I disagree. Then Tapper continued, you feel I should have reprimanded a mass of grieving and upset people on their behavior. I disagree. So that was Tapper's point of view. He also said to Variety, this was the toughest assignment he'd ever had at CNN. And I can see why. This town hall really was, at least in my view, a turning point in this conversation about guns.